Every year in the Indian coastal city of Puri, a wave of human energy pulls a set of towering wooden chariots through the streets. Once this procession starts moving, the sheer mass of the structures and crush of tens of thousands of pilgrims make it almost impossible to stop. British observers in the 17th century were overwhelmed by the unstoppable momentum of this exact festival that they adapted the name of its presiding deity into an English word for a massive, inexorable force, a juggernaut. At the center of this hyper-Orthodox Hindu festival sit the presiding deities, Jagannatha, Balabhadra, and Subhadra. If you're familiar with traditional Hindu iconography, you might notice something strange. These aren't the meticulously carved, multi-armed stone idols you find in most major temples. They are rough-hewn blocks of wood with massive, unblinking eyes and stump-like arms. They look indigenous, because they are. So how exactly did rough-hewn, tribal wooden figures become the absolute focal point of a highly structured pan-Indian religious empire? This satellite view shows the eastern coastline of India, right along the Bay of Bengal. If we zoom in on the state of Odisha, we find the city of Puri, sitting on a site originally known as Nilachala, or the Blue Hill. To understand the wooden idols, we have to look at the deepest historical layer of this hill. Long before it became a center of Vaishnavism, the worship of the god Vishnu, this site was a Shakta Pitha. It was a major destination for goddess worship, protected by a ring of local female deities. Those local roots extend to the wooden idols themselves. Looking at their rough style and the local mythology, historians trace their origins directly to the indigenous tribal groups of the region, who worshipped them long before they were absorbed into the mainstream Hindu pantheon. This tribal heritage manifests in an active ritual called Navakalevada. The wooden deities are periodically renewed, recarved from newly selected neem trees. The Orthodox Brahmin priests are excluded from the carving itself. The exclusive right to find the wood and shape the new deities belongs strictly to the Daitas, a class of temple servants descended from the site's original tribal worshippers. The tribal origins and the ancient goddess worship remain intact. They form the unshakable foundation of the entire city's spiritual architecture. Bringing all these elements together required a massive act of political engineering. In the 12th century, the ruling Ganga dynasty needed a way to legitimize their rule over a highly diverse population of Buddhists, Jains, Shaivites, and local tribes. To anchor this new unity, the kings built this, a massive, imposing Kalinga-style stone temple right over the ancient sacred hill. Then they pulled off a geopolitical masterstroke. They officially elevated the presiding deity and named him Jagannatha, literally Lord of the World. It was a title broad enough to appeal universally to every competing religious sect in the region simultaneously. The Ganga kings even legally demoted themselves. They declared that Jagannatha was the true living king of the empire, while they acted merely as his deputies, managing the state on his behalf. This was sustained by the Chathisa Niyoga, an organizational structure dividing the temple into 36 distinct categories of servants. This forced disparate social groups into an interdependent machine. Brahmin priests, woodcarvers, cooks, and blacksmiths were legally required to cooperate to keep the living god functioning. Local artisans were integrated too. The creation of traditional Patachitra paintings became a hereditary religious duty, weaving the city's artists directly into the temple's survival. Naming a wooden idol the Lord of the World functioned as a calculated system of civic engineering. The Ganga kings realized it was more effective to absorb rival factions into a shared logistical system than to try and conquer them. Puri has functioned as a continuous, living city on this coastline, unbroken and evolving since the 3rd century BC. The physical layout of the city mirrors its history of integration. A deity with tribal roots sits at the center of Vedic Brahmanism, physically surrounded by Shaiva shrines and ancient Shakta goddesses. This integration is most visible in the Ananda Bazaar, the world's largest mass-feeding kitchen. Here, traditional caste boundaries dissolve as pilgrims of all backgrounds sit together on the floor to share the same meal. Jagannatha Dhamma proves a reliable rule of cultural longevity. Lasting power doesn't come from erasing the past to build the future. It comes from successfully layering disparate traditions.